This is Europe. Or is it? Some would say this map includes too many countries. Or not enough. Some would say this is Europe, while others might even believe all of this counts as Europe. At the EU Made Simple, we talk about matters that affect the European continent. But not everyone seems to agree on where that continent starts and stops. So who's right and who's wrong? The easiest way of answering this question is to look at a map. Surely geography can help us divide up the continents. The map on Wikipedia tells us that Europe ends on the edge of Greece, right before the Turkish mainland, stretches into Russia, Kazakhstan, and tiny parts of Georgia and Azerbaijan. Case closed, right? Well, not exactly. There are a few problems with the geographical approach. A common definition of continents is large, continuous masses of land, ideally separated by expanses of water. North America is different from Europe because of the Atlantic Ocean separating them. But where is the ocean separating Asia from Europe? There is the Caspian Sea and the Black Sea, but they're not big enough. If you counted them, you'd have to exclude Ireland, the United Kingdom, and Iceland for sure. You could walk from Portugal to China without encountering a single drop of water. And the same goes for all of Africa. Some might point to the Caucasus Mountains as the natural border between Asia and Europe. But then why is Turkey not included? This map also means countries like Turkey have tiny parts in Europe, while most of their landmass is in Asia. Most shocking of all is Cyprus, which is considered part of Asia despite the Republic being part of the EU. How can a member state of the European Union not be part of Europe? Geography and natural landmarks give us a good general look, but the map falls apart once you start looking too closely at it. There must be a better way of finding the limits of Europe than this. But as we delve into the fascinating topic of what is Europe, it got me thinking, how much do we really know about our own roots? Are our ancestors even European? To find out, I partnered with MyHeritage, today's sponsor, and trust me, it's a game changer. Exploring MyHeritage was an adventure. It's incredibly fun and easy to use. I started by simply entering information about my parents and grandparents, and whoop, there it was. I discovered my great-grandparents and many generations further back. The process was so easy, even with little family information to start with, as MyHeritage has over 19 billion historical records to work with. I also stumbled upon some astonishing facts. I always thought my family was entirely European. But guess what? I found out that I have ancestors who have roots in Turkey and Indonesia. Looks like the Dutch colonial past in Indonesia wasn't just a chapter in the history books, but a part of my own family story. Who knew? And check this out. I uploaded this old family photo to MyHeritage. Their tools let me repair, colorize, enhance, and even animate it. It really is like bringing my family's history into the present. If you're curious about your family's history, especially after our journey through European history today, I highly recommend MyHeritage. And here's something exciting. You can sign up to a 14-day trial to explore the vast resources of MyHeritage. So start your journey into your family's past today, and find the link in the description below. The European continent is rich in history. Many empires have risen and fallen over thousands of years. None were more powerful at their peak and more influential on European culture than the Roman Empire. Let's look at its borders to see what counts as Europe once and for all. Well, that presents a problem straight away. At its height, the Roman Empire included many territories and countries that aren't traditionally thought of as European. Syria, Morocco, Tunisia, and even Egypt would have to be included in Europe if we followed this approach. And while the traditional countries like France, Spain, and Italy make the list, poor Ireland, Scotland, Denmark, and nearly all of North, Central, and Eastern Europe are excluded. The truth is, the concept of Europe hasn't always existed throughout history, and even when it did, the borders changed constantly throughout different time periods. So a historical approach really is even worse for determining where the boundaries of the continent lie. Let's go back to our strength and look to politics. Surely political institutions can help us define exactly what does and doesn't count as Europe. Borders and states are made legitimate by the international community. So why should the outlines of continents be different? Luckily for us, our channel focuses on the key European supranational organization, the European Union. With 27 member states part of the EU, you would think that we could see a clear-cut outline of which countries qualify as European and which ones don't. So here's the map of the EU in its current state. As you can see, there are some serious issues. First, there are plenty of holes in the map that need filling. The entire United Kingdom is missing. Norway has also been kicked out of the club, and a central part of the continent, Switzerland, has been carved out. In the east, countries that have been marked as European by the United Nations, such as Ukraine, are left out entirely. This is because joining the European Union requires you to meet certain criteria. A stable economy and a commitment to liberal democratic values are required for membership. Some countries like Switzerland and Norway prefer to stay outside of the group, but are geographically close. If we include members of the European Economic Area and those who have applied to join the EU, our map expands greatly. But look, now Morocco, who applied to join the EU unsuccessfully in 1987, counts as European territory. This is a state that not many would associate with Europe, despite being geographically closer to the continent than Ireland. Not only that, if we consider political states in the discussion of Europe's borders, we'd really have to expand to this. France controls islands in the Pacific, down south along the east coast of Africa, and a small part of South America. The UK controls the Falkland Islands, and Denmark owns the entirety of Greenland. In this case, Europe's borders stretch out across the entire planet. The borders of the 27 member states of the EU give us a rough outline of what counts as Europe. But there are too many glaring holes in the map to be considered a one-size-fits-all solution. Is there another answer besides politics, though? There is. Many might say that maps and borders aren't what make a country or people European, but the general feeling of life in those countries. If you pick up a fresh croissant at a Parisian bakery or take a hike through the Italian countryside, you'll know you're in Europe. It's all about the culture. This answer is more intangible than the others. What qualifies as European varies from one person to the next. Some believe you need similar values. Others think your system of government needs to be similar. And some even tie it all back to cuisine. Take Iceland, for example. Iceland is culturally very similar to the Scandinavian countries in language, practices, and religion. Norsemen settled the island back in the 9th century, meaning the population is ethnically European too. But if this is the case, does the United States not count as Europe? What about many South American countries? Where do countries like Israel and Turkey fit in, with mixed European and Middle Eastern cultures? The cultural argument has its merit. As we all know, a country like China isn't European. But it's far too subjective to stand on its own. At this point, you're probably wondering, okay, so what is the answer then? What actually counts as Europe? And the truth is, there isn't one. All of these approaches are just as valid as each other, and you can use any of them to draw the borders of what you think counts as the European continent. At the EU Made Simple, we like to keep things simple, and primarily focus on the affairs of the 27 member states of the European Union. But our videos often bleed into neighboring countries, such as Ukraine, Montenegro, or Norway, when discussing topics like enlargement. So, what counts as Europe? That's up to you. Let us know what you think in the comments below. We would be very interested to hear your perspective. Please subscribe for more content, and if you would like to support the channel further, please consider signing up to Patreon. Until next time.